Remember the video game crash of 1983 where consumer confidence was so low the industry almost exploded? Valve do, and while this is only for the Steam Decks, they're making use of a tactic that Nintendo used back in the day to make sure you, the buyer, knew exactly what you were getting and have confidence in them. Meanwhile, Rockstar have left a big hint at the future of GTA 6 by buying up some crazy stuff. The Dark and Darker devs have made good on their promises, made good on the kind of interesting launch that had a couple of issues. People were worried about microtransactions. They've now come out and solved that problem. And the massive amount of money that's coming into games via the Saudi Arabia deals has finally backfired, dealing quite a bit of damage to a very large studio, and some more news to come. I think it's fairly safe to say that the Steam Deck has kind of changed PC gaming for an awful lot of people based on Valve being excellent at their jobs, and they're not stopping there because they're now offering refurbished Steam Decks. So if a Steam Deck comes back to them, they'll refurbish it and sell it for 20% less, which is fairly standard, but in this case, it being done by Valve themselves will make consumers feel really happy because they've promised that the systems are being fully reset and undergo over 100 tests to ensure that everything meets or even exceeds the performance standards of new retail units, which means you basically get a Steam Deck for 20% less. Maybe there's a couple scuffs on it, maybe you just don't like the idea of someone's like sweaty hands on it, but it's 20% off and it comes with a healthy warranty too, which is the same 1-year warranty as a new Steam Deck. I think this is great. It's another example of Valve showing people basically how it's done, because Valve put their money where their mouth is. They were like, hey, there's the Steam Deck. You can take it open yourself. They had all those videos, all those manuals. Hey, you can completely repair this yourself. We're all for the right to repair and the right to replace. And here's how to replace the sticks if you'd like. Here's how to get, obviously don't do this all the time, but if you want to replace the drives, work away. It's easy to do. But in this case, they're like, okay, well, we'll do it because it's easy for us. You don't have to worry with third parties, nothing like that. You can just go to Valve themselves and go, I'll have the cheaper option. Thank you very much. Now, Valve aren't the only ones doing this, of course. You'll find refurbished Steam Decks all over the place, but one of the big ones we noticed was GameStop. Obviously not for us here in the UK, but GameStop Pro members in the US can go and grab a physical Steam Deck refurbished by GameStop engineers, but it only comes with a 30-day return model versus Valve's 1-year warranty. And also, would you prefer someone at Valve make sure it works or someone at GameStop? Anyway, that's Valve once again proving they are the industry leaders for a damn good reason. Now, Rockstar aren't quite as stupid as I think some of us thought, because you look at the GTA scene, right? You look at GTA 5 on Twitch, anywhere you see all of the money, all of the player base, all of the playing, everything, all of like the things that draw people to that game seems to be the RP scene and has been for a long time, because obviously GTA 5 Online's design stuff was fine, but it was the RP that's really taken off in a big way. So now they've definitely stepped up and went, yeah, we've known that. We're just now making our moves. What they've done is they've bought a large group of modders, and as Eurogamer points out, actually a group of modders that they banned for making mods 8 years ago. So I guess, they can be friends again now, I suppose. But this is Rockstar attempting to capitalize on monetization, right? Because that RP side has driven so much gameplay, probably millions of hours, if not more, but they haven't been able to fully integrate it into monetization, because obviously, how dare people play their video game without giving them money for the privilege outside of, buying it, which they already do. So let's not think about that too much. But at the same time, this is like a crazy amount of stuff. And if the next entries don't include some of the stuff baseline, then that would be absolutely moronic from Rockstar. So it's kind of, for players, I think it's kind of a double-edged sword, right? It's really cool that this stuff is likely to be more featured, but it's also terrible that it's probably going to be more monetized. But I mean, you look at this, for example, right? This video, I spent 100 hours as a hitman in GTA 5 RP, 4.9 million views in 2 months. That is a crazy amount of views for something like this. So you can see why Rockstar would want in, and they've purchased the group CFX.re. They're the team behind 5M and RedM, which are like basically the biggest tools, the biggest communities in those Rockstar games. And they say this follows the explicit relaxation of their policies around roleplay modifications. So the question is, what's Rockstar's plan here? Obviously, I think the very obvious one is GTA 6 and GTA 6 Online having some of these tools integrated, some of the possibility there, and finding a way to tie it together for monetization purposes. But I think there's a little bit of a fear going on of just, will these be integrated immediately? Is this going to be we need to wait like a year and a bit now for GTA 6 to launch? How do we squeeze the last vestiges of money out of GTA 5's Online while we still have it? Either way, I think it's interesting to see that this RP and this modding scene has become such a force for gameplay. And it's all well and good for those that were bought, But what about those that weren't? Eurogamer have already reported on like the immediate damage kind of done by this approach from Rockstar now, where Sentient Streets from the creator Block was a mod for GTA 5 that introduced a full storyline about citizens from Los Santos worshipping an AI cult, with players tasked to investigate as cops. And obviously the RP idea of there's a cult, you're investigating as a cop, that sounds good. But the twist here was what made it kind of special. The NPCs you could speak to were powered by an AI language model and text-to-speech, so you could naturally converse to them using microphones and just talking. So you walk up to an NPC, you say, you know, do you know anything about what happened here last week? And then whatever AI system drive it is like, this is basically when people were talking on like around the time GPT got super popular, when people were talking about what does this actually mean for video games. This was one of the ideas of just, and obviously we've all seen how awful AI implementations can be and how I think some people are fluffing up how important it is and how good it is at the minute. But the proof of concept here being just on an RP mod server is kind of crazy. How well implemented could it be? Obviously, this being roleplay, then could you take the prompts given? Could you take the responses and kind of build a narrative out and then just kind of generally evolve it instead of having to sit within the fixed rail guidelines of like a video game plot? And of course, that sounds pretty good, or at least as a proof of concept, sounds interesting. And Rockstar were like, actually, no thank you. We already have the mods we need. To hell with you. At least that's what Block, the creator, has been saying, because a gameplay video and installation guide for the mod have been taken down by DMCA strikes, and the mod's been pulled from Nexus Mods altogether. Block provided a lengthy statement on YouTube saying, here's all the strikes that happened. Rockstar took a non-communicative approach to dealing with this mod, which just means they didn't bother to tell him. They didn't bother to warn him. They didn't bother to say, hey, you wouldn't take this down, or hey, we have some issues. Can we talk about this? They just went bang, 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 gone. He says, I am hoping that anyone who enjoyed this mod will remember this dishonest action taken by Take-Two whenever they hear any news about Rockstar. Rather than chasing small mods, they should focus on creating proper remakes with better pricing policy. Obviously a stab at Red Dead Redemption's remake there. Or stop removing cars from online to sell them back to people. I will end this post with Rockstar's own words on modding, and I invite you to consider whether you believe this action aligns with their public statement from 2022 or not. Rockstar Games has always believed in reasonable fan creativity and wants creators to showcase their passion for our games. So I guess that means in 8 years' time this mod will be back and they'll buy it, just like they did with the other ones. No, but seriously, I could see to play, I don't want to like run defense for the big corporation, but you can definitely see there's some issues with the AI stuff that they could maybe just be like, oh no, we're very afraid of that for all the reasons that are occurring, because a lot of voice actor stuff recently, I can't remember who it was, but whichever company recently had a lot of lines added in their contract where if something were to befall their voice actors in the contracts they were like had for projects, they would then be legally allowed to use AI in order to like finish the project using AI reconstructions of their voice based on data that they've given to them so far. That kicked up a whole fuss, and obviously rightly so. You know, there's a lot of the ethics of use of AI we could talk about, but literally just sneaking into a contract, if you die we'll finish it without you by cloning your voice. Obviously that's not going to fly, so you can see why they might be a little bit concerned about this going forward. But it is frustrating that it has to come down, because if it was a good proof of concept, maybe like we've seen so many mods. Like, I mean, is this the AI NPC version of a Dota or a League of Legends or something like that, where you go, okay, well, this is the spark that lights the fire that is a massive change in the industry going forward? Possibly, or maybe it's absolutely nothing. Moving on then, the Dark and Darker devs, Ironmace, have basically came out and said, we told you about our principles, we told you how we wanted to do things, and then we kind of didn't do them that way, but also they were kind of out of our control because our lives have been basically living nightmares because of legal trouble from next one. So they actually then went, no, we took us a while, but we've made good. And a while, a couple weeks at most. As per PC Games, then Ironmace updated their Discord, said the next hotfix would make classes free, and then in the future, any currency spent on those classes would be refunded. We apologize for this delay. And that's more or less just, yeah, we kind of completely missed the mark with the first thing. We'll fix it, no problem. Obviously, I think that's pretty much great. Within a week of launch, they've said, hey, listen, this is early access. We kind of messed up. We'll do it right this time. I think it's one of the most obvious cases I think we've ever really seen of something being completely transparently out of a developer's control. But in this case, because of the support they've received or whatever else, even though they've had to launch on this like basically almost nothing platform, not even being allowed to launch in their own country because of how they've handled the rating system. It's interesting that they're able to go, no, they lost control of the beast for a second, but wrangled it back and went, listen, you can trust us going forward. Hopefully the story continues to pan out really well for them, because I think Ironmace specifically for the past while have had a lot of people rooting for them, and I think rightly so. Now on to the exact opposite of indie and going in the right direction. Embracer's disastrous $2 billion deal was scuppered by the Saudi Arabia-backed Savvy Games. Stephen Totillo of Axios saying that Savvy Games wanted to put $38 billion in gaming projects over the next few years, and that they were the mystery partner that basically shot Embracer in the foot. Embracer's last round of financial results went pretty rough. They couldn't say who, but there was a deal that collapsed. The Embracer stock tanked like crazy. There was layoffs, there was belt tightening, there was a closure of an entire studio, Campfire Cabal, just gone because the deal fell through. And Embracer were promising there's going to be more of this. It's not good, we don't like it, but it's going to go worse. And it's just frustrating because Savvy showed up and went, we promised $2 billion. And Embracer went and said, $2 billion? Sweet. We can go do all these things. We can make all these amazing games. And obviously Embracer may not be have the best track record of all time just yet. They were at least trying interesting things. And obviously, of course, this is just a blow to them and the developers working underneath them, of course, which is just frustrating. So it's interesting that this happened to Savvy. I wonder if anyone in the future will look at the deal, come in and go, actually, are you good to your word? Can we be sure that your however many billions you promised us will materialize in the end? Obviously, there could be any number of reasons that they left the deal. It could have been some bad vibes from Embracer or something, but at the end, the people who are hurt here are these studios, and that just kind of sucks. Netflix are bringing a different meaning to playing games on your phone. They recently launched their new cloud streaming app with a whole 2 games, incredible, one of them being Oxenfree, and obviously now you can play those games on your TV, on your browser, perfectly fine, without a controller, because there's a new app that turns your phone into a controller. You know, all of the incredible tactile feedback you get from touchscreen buttons, and yeah, it's fine. As to whether anyone will play it or use it is a completely different question. Obviously, it's hard for me to remove myself from the perspective of someone who likes really tactile feedback. I would really like to play a lot of mobile games sometimes because they look interesting, and I never do because I just obviously you can play some controller, but I like the standard, right? I like sitting on a sofa or on a chair with either mouse and keyboard or a controller in my hands. That feels right. That feels proper. So I'm just sitting here going, maybe people will play it, but at least it shows that there's a lot of backing. There's enough money for this app to be made, for this thing to be designed, for it to be trialed out in the UK and Canada right now. So maybe it'll go somewhere, but I'm not sure I would invest. Let's put it that way. Some of you younger viewers might not understand this, but the game manual was more than just something that came with the video game that was a little bit there to explain how the game played. They were part of the experience, especially for people who lived a little bit further away from game shops. I remember when I was much younger, the amount of times I would be going shopping with my family on a Saturday or Sunday. We'd go to a place that's about an hour's drive away, and it had the big game, and it had a CEX for the trading games and stuff. So I remember the amount of times I would grab a game, and on the way home, excited to get home and play this game, I would leaf through the manual and see all the artwork, see all the game systems, see basically everything in there. And that's been something lost with the lack of physically printed media, with the fact that, what's the last game I opened there? I opened Final Fantasy 16, and I open it, and it's nice box art and stuff, but the only leaflet I pulled out was an ad for FF14 and a little booklet saying, here's all the Square Enix's games, you want to buy them? And I'm like, this is just an advertisement. There's no value in this whatsoever. So now Biffle Games have decided, no, we'll bring it back. The Banished Vault is a space strategy title they just published. It's brutally hard, and they've decided, okay, well, people want mechanical references, so why don't we put it in a manual and sell it along with the game? And now this is crazy because they've actually had a 10% attach rate to the game for a manual. A manual, just an additional bit of expensive physical media on side is kind of crazy. And obviously here's pictures here that this is what I mean, right? It's the art, it's the vibes. You read through this, and obviously you're like, okay, well, I need a reference for things. So, okay, well, here's how to use the Auriga Vault interface. Here's why we'll want to hibernate. Oh, I can spend knowledge during hibernation to get ships and engines. That's cool. But the vibes in these images is absolutely crazy strong. Even those little, the Book of Starlight Chapter 2, Elixir is the most wondrous substance, extract of sunlight itself. That's the kind of stuff that I think people really really brings you into the game world more than anything else. And this artwork is fantastic. So basically the point of this is just, this is really cool. This is really cool, and I hope more of it continues because it's excellent. And you know, maybe at store.bellular.games, where we currently sell an art book and we currently sell collector editions for the game, maybe a manual will go well for our next project. To close out today, some game releases. One of these I was very excited for already, but another one I didn't know until I read this document and my mind's kind of blown. So we'll start with the one I know, Blasphemous 2. I think Blasphemous, fantastic game. I loved the first Blasphemous. I played it. I didn't quite platinum it, but I played it a couple times through. Fantastic. Basically Catholic trauma-themed Metroidvanias. Really, really, really strong, and the sequel looks to be doing extremely well as well. That game has vibes, and I'm not just saying that because we live in Ireland. Now, this second game is fascinating, and I made sure to look it up because I wasn't sure what it was when I read the description here, and I went, oh, hang on, this actually kind of owns. Shadow Gambit, the Cursor Crew, kind of came out of nowhere to basically widespread critical success. It's a supernatural pirate-themed stealth-focused strategy RPG that's batting an 85 on OpenCritic right now with 92% recommendations. IGN's John Bolden gave it a 9 out of 10, saying it's a peak example of the stealth tactic genre from a studio that's mastering its craft. I didn't know there was a stealth tactic genre. Obviously, I've played like Mark of the Ninja and I've played a little bit of Origami, but stealth in like the tactic RPG and the strategy RPG thing where you get to basically completely consider what you're doing is such a nice change from a lot of stealth games that rely on like the immersive sim kind of, well, if you want to stealth properly, you're going to want to save scum, right? Or sometimes you turn a corner and obviously you can't see what's around the corner. You turn the corner and you're caught. This one is like, here's an overview of the map. Here's how you're going to stealth around and do your tactics. So there's too many good games. There's far too many good games. But anyway, that's us for today. Thank you very much for watching this episode, and I will see you very, very soon.